Hey, it's the Nerdy Sports Fan. We're talking NFL offseason needs for every team. We're into the NFC West. Let's get into these 49ers, huh? So, Super Bowl hangover is a thing, a big thing. There's not many teams that get back to the big dance after losing it. It hasn't happened in back-to-back years since the Bills did it 4 in a row. Yeah, still thinking about that as a Bills fan, by the way. But you need to take a beat, all right? You had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl and lost. This has now happened twice to Kyle Shanahan. And you can blame the offense in both cases. How do you put up the amount of points you do before that point? And all of a sudden go into your shell when the other team starts to figure out what they're doing on offense. I don't get it. I don't. I think his play calling became predictable and conservative at the end of that game. I don't know if that's a mental block sort of thing that you're not going to be able to fix. That's my worry. So, does he keep the locker room in check? Does Jimmy G have the leadership skills needed to keep those guys on the straight and narrow and keep them on the path to the Super Bowl once again? Those are big, big questions that they need to ask. And they need to answer quickly. So, you have just under $15 million in cap space. You have to figure out your receiving core. There's a big question mark. George Kittle, Emmanuel Sanders, who the fuck else? Deebo Samuel started to come on. Great. Pettis, what's he? You know? Is Deebo Samuel going to continue to develop? Or do you need somebody else? Those are big questions for the offense. Offensive line stout, running back stout. You got your quarterback. Okay. So, on a defense. You got some contract situations you got to deal with. DeForest Buckner and Jesse Armstead. Armstead's probably going to go in free agency. He's likely to command a higher dollar figure than what you're willing to give him, considering he's a rotational guy on a line that has Buckner and Bosa and Solomon, and you can keep on freaking going. You know, Ford. It just, that defensive line is stacked. So yeah, Armstead could go. But Buckner can't. DeForest Buckner is too important to that interior defense. So you need to throw some money at that man. With only $14.7 million in cap space going into this free agency period, locking up your own guys seems like the most important thing. But you do need to inject some new life into this team. If you do not, there will be a complacency associated with that Super Bowl hangover, and you might not even make the damn playoffs next year because of it. So, you need to get fresh energy in the building. Typically, that best comes from the draft. You need to get the right guys drafted to come in. You traded away some draft capital getting Emmanuel Sanders, sure, but there's still some wiggle room. You know, you don't necessarily need top flight starters. You need rotational depth. So there's some things you can do to bring the energy back. It's a lot of leadership, though. And the questions that I have on this team at key positions, Shanahan, Jimmy G, your quarterback, your coach, the most important positions when it comes to leadership, they're the ones I'm worried about possibly not being able to be a leader. So yeah, there's questions. There's not many answers for those questions. And you don't have a lot of money to deal with to create answers on your own. You know, you're going to lose $5 million of that cap space to your draft class. So it's more like under $10 million in cap space, and you've got to find a way to keep Emmanuel Sanders, keep DeForest Buckner, and you have to inject new life into this team. All of those things won't happen. They might end up letting go of Emmanuel, depending on how they feel about Deebo Samuel's development. I don't think it'd be wise, but it might happen. Pettis, players like him, they're more likely to get cut and replaced with draft picks in order to create a certain amount of cap space. So I see that working that way. You know, you're really not going to get a hell of a lot of action in free agency. They're going to draft players that they want on the team and create the cap space by cutting players that those drafted positions will cover for. That's how I see it shaken out. It's not going to create enough of a vibe, though, for this team to get back to the Super Bowl. I really doubt it. I think that's a very leadership-heavy thing, and I think leadership from porn star Jimmy and from Kyle Shanahan is the lacking component in what they bring to the table. The 49ers are still fucking good, though. All right? This is not a funeral dirge. They're not dying out. I expect them to get to the early rounds of the playoffs. Really still do. I don't expect them to win. It's weird what the Super Bowl hangover does to a team. So, unless they can find a way to inject some better blood in that offensive passing game specifically, I don't know that this Super Bowl hangover isn't going to have a really ridiculous toll on this team. Everybody who played in that game, it will eat at them for the rest of their damn lives. It's going to take something special to break them out of that funk. So, yeah. I hope for their sake they can find it. Because they didn't have the answers last year when they needed them. So, they've got some time to figure things out. But Shanahan and Jimmy G need to go some leadership council or something. Just leadership seminars. Maybe that'll help. It doesn't do a damn thing in the business world. It's just a whole bunch of guys standing around jerking each other off. But, you know, maybe they'll find one that actually hits all the right chords and gets them going in the right direction. I highly doubt it. I think they're very good. I think they are a playoff team all day. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. I think there might be something wrong with Kyle Shanahan in pressure-packed situations, especially with the gravity of the Super Bowl. Because, man, did he choke a big fat one as a quarterback when he was with Atlanta. And that trend continued this season as an NFL head coach. So, he's still going to get extended. He's going to be with the team a long time. He got him to the Super Bowl. Harbaugh got him to the Super Bowl. But Harbaugh was also an asshole. Nobody in the building liked the dude. They were begging for reasons to fire him. That's not what Kyle Shanahan is. So, yeah, Shanahan brought them to the Super Bowl. He's a nice guy. People like him. In spite of the flaws I see in what he brings to the table coaching-wise, they don't have better options. There's really not any available option in coaching that's going to be better. There wasn't this offseason at all. So, yeah, I get it. You know, you dance with the one who brung you. And he brung them. So they're dancing with him for a while. So he's got to figure out whatever the hell he's doing in these big games to just choke them away. Because he's going to be there in San Francisco for some years now. And players are not going to tolerate that kind of nonsense. They lose in another pressure-packed situation like that, a lot of them are going to leave. So, since nobody wants to see that, they need a game plan. Hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you think the 49ers need to do in the offseason, because there's really, again, not many holes. And yeah, like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, fellas. I've got more videos coming down the pipe for the pre- and post-free agency, pre- and post-draft for every team. Hit me up in the comments with, again, what you would like to see the 49ers do. We'll keep the conversation going for a while. Thanks for watching, guys.